You can never time wholesaling. It doesn't work that way. If you continue to try to do that in 2023, you are going to get killed. The price just keeps dropping down. High interest rates for mortgages, very few buyers, very hard to qualify for a mortgage. Prices are what? They're dropping, it seems, on a weekly basis. Interest rates are 3 times what they were almost a year ago. People are having less and less affordability in buying the house. Are you prepared for the wholesaling chaos in 2023? Guys, it's Rick Cant, and in this video, I'm going to go over your sellers, your buyers, and how to operate in 2023 and what I see is going to be a chaotic year in wholesaling. But before I get into it, do me a favor, make sure you smash that like button, you hit that subscribe button so you can continue to receive videos just like this on the best information on wholesaling. So 2023, maybe you just get started in wholesaling. Maybe you've been wholesaling for the last 4 or 5 years and you're seeing the changes that are going on. And I'm here to tell you is number one, is you can never time wholesaling. It doesn't work that way. Wholesaling works in really good markets and it works in really bad markets. The one key thing I've understood on wholesaling over my 20 years is a fluctuating and changing market is good because it causes homeowners to make decisions to sell properties. It tells owners always make decisions, number one, based on their family, and then number two, based on what's going on in the economy. And you have two worlds getting ready to collide on it. And that's why I believe 2023 is going to be very chaotic. But don't panic. I'm here to tell you, chaos is great in wholesaling because we're here to solve people's problems. Remember, real estate is nothing more than a symptom of human beings' problems. It's never the real estate causing the problem. It's just they bought a piece of real estate, and because they had lost a job, because they are relocating, they have to sell this property, and some properties can be stressful if you don't have the financial means, or you have a loss of income, or you need to move quickly. So this is one of the reasons why I love wholesaling. It doesn't matter. So the first thing we have to do is talk about our sellers. So unless you've been living under a rock for the last really 3 or 4 years, it's been chaotic in pricing. And I mean really good for sellers. Prices have just creeped up and, in my opinion, shot to an unrealistic level. And here's how we wound up there is inventory got really low and then money got really cheap. And when you get those two forces to combine together, you have what we call a bidding war in real estate. And all good things have to come to an end. The reality is the market has been skyrocketing since 2011. Guys, that is a 10+ year run. Actually, not even heard of before. So all good parties have to come to an end, and that brings us to 2023. So inventory is now rising. Why? Because the Federal Reserve has raised interest rates at such a skyrocketing rate, the fastest increase on record in the last really 75 years. Who knows where interest rates are going to wind up? Interest rates are 3 times what they were almost a year ago. So inventory is steadily, as I'm shooting this video, it is just skyrocketing. And people are having less and less affordability in buying the house. And that's why you have some chaos going in 2023. But once again, let's talk about the sellers. Really, for the last 4 years, they've held the cards. Whatever they even listed their property for, or they asked their best price with a wholesaler, it came up on a bidding competition. And most of you were bidding between 85 and 90% of the retail value of the property. And in normal wholesaling circumstances, that doesn't even make sense. So we usually have to be well below 80 to even make a profit level. So the rules got changed. And the reality is everyone who's been teaching wholesaling really in the last 5 years, if you continue to try to do that in 2023, you are going to get killed. So sellers now are starting to get information, understanding their prices are not going to go up. So sellers always thought, hey, worst case scenario, if I wait a little bit longer, my prices are going to go up, my equity is going to shoot up. And that's been the rule for the last 4 years. And I'm here to tell you in 2023, that is not going to work anymore. The opposite is going to happen. So how do sellers set their expectations for selling a house? Number one, it always comes from the news media. So whatever outlet you want to report on, it could be your local news, national news. when they start talking about negative headlines in real estate, the news loves negativity. And once they get caught on it, it's just over and over, keeps repeating it. So it winds up being like a marketing message to your sellers. Once your sellers start to get this information, like, they're going to go through different phases. They're like, okay, I better sell now. Well, the problem is prices have already shifted. They're going downward spiral, and then inventory shooting up. It's a lot of times the worst time to sell. So they set a price target. So say their house is worth $200,000 retail. The realtor tells them to list it at $219 because they're still using old school strategies in an old market. And guess what? They get no offers. 30 days goes by. The realtor says, we need to lower it. So they lower it to like 209, thinking they did something major. And what happens is interest rates have gone up higher on mortgages, inventory's climbed up, and then the seller has a conversation with the realtor, goes, listen, like we're getting just lowball offers, we're getting nothing. And then the realtor here, she's going to say, listen, I'm sorry, the market's changed. We're going to have to make an adjustment. We're going to have to get below the 200,000 to even track a real buyer. The challenge is that's where they should have started, but they were 20K off. And what happens in a market like this is we have a downward spiraling trend on prices, and sellers are trying to always chase yesterday's prices. And this is the problem we're having now. So they're always trying to adjust according to yesterday's pricing. And it just gets worse and worse as time goes on. After the property sits 30, 60 days on the market, nobody's interested because they don't think it's priced right. And then it keeps on dropping. And that's usually where we come in, the wholesaler, to give them like the real news. Now, when you tell them what the value is and what you can offer, they're going to reconfirm that with their local news, with the negativity that's going to be set, until they get to a point where they go, listen, no realtor is going to bail me out. No cash buyer is going to overpay. That's when we get a market that we can really do some damage in. But we are in the beginning stages of the downward spiral. Guys, prices are only going to get lower for 2023. You have to make sure you buy right. Sellers' expectations are in a downward spiral trend, and it usually takes 6 to 9 months of pain. We're only a few months into this. So you want to look at that in 2023. Once sellers decide they're going to throw in the white flag that they're going to have to be extremely reasonable selling their property, especially if it's under distress, meaning they need to sell it quickly and the property needs lots of rehab, that's where a wholesaler comes in, because these prices are not going to trade anytime soon on the open market with a realtor. So let's talk about the other side of the equation, the expectations for cash buyers for 2023. Well, to be honest with you, the last 3 years, cash buyers have been discarded like a transaction and a number. Why? Because every guru taught you to do it that way. The reality is cash buyers, you have to vet them correctly. You do not vet them by texting them and just emailing them. It's cold. It's a numbers game when you do that. So when you get a cash buyer, you need to vet them. You need to see if they're qualified. You need to see what areas they buy and what price points. And more importantly, you're actually going to have to develop relationships with them. I know it sounds painful, but this is how business works, because your true customer in wholesaling, if you're doing this via assignment, is the cash buyer. And if you're not going to meet your cash buyer's needs, there is no way you're going to be successful in 2023. So we have to pivot. We're going to be spending more time with cash buyers so we can use methods like reverse wholesaling, meaning we get the cash buyer's bottom line price, and then we can go back and work with our motivated sellers to get the right target price. So moving forward, knowing this between cash buyers and sellers, understanding when a seller gives you a price, in today's market in 2023, you actually have to disregard it and understand that you have to buy it for today's value. So sellers usually want much more than it's worth. Do not let the list price or their ask price, or if it's FSBO and you're calling on Zillow, they got it listed at 200. Don't assume you have to come close to 200. You have to look at the value of the property, come up with an ARV, and this is how you're going to be successful in 2023. The list price doesn't really mean as much as it used to in the market from 3 or 4 years ago. So guys, understanding your seller and cash buyer expectations is the key to navigating through the chaos in 2023 wholesaling. So how do we navigate through this chaotic market in 2023? I'm going to give you some tips on strategies we've already implemented in our company, and I want you to piggyback on them so you can do the same, so you can avoid the confusion. Number one, you have to stick to core list. What do I mean by core list? any type of government list, foreclosure, probates, evictions, you are always looking for signs of motivation, and hitting these government lists, guys, where there's smoke, there's fire. This is where you guys need to hunt. Code violation, it goes on forever. So the key is, off these lists, you want to identify your seller's motivation. The sooner the better. And remember, how do you do that? Look for people who need to sell, which means they have a deadline. They need to get it sold, either financial or time constraint. Or you want to avoid the ones that just want to sell, because those are the ones that you're going to spend the most amount of energy and get the least amount of deals from. Okay? Remember, your ARV, this is a big one, is you have to choose the most conservative one. So if you have a range, usually 5 to 10%, if it's 200 to 220, pick 200, maybe knock another 10, 15 grand on it. That is your ARV. Once you have the target conservative ARV, you can now construct an offer so you can get a great wholesale deal. So when we're talking about pricing in our how-to for navigating wholesaling in this market, this is the most critical part I can tell you. So the goalposts keep moving on pricing, and this is the frustrating part in a rapidly changing market. And this, honestly, where is most of the chaos for 2023 is coming from. So if you know the goalpost is moving, what do I mean by that? Meaning the price just keeps dropping down. So for the last 4 years, the price kept going up. Actually, the last 10 years, to be honest with you on it. And so if you know the goalposts constantly move, you have to price it in. Now, the key thing is, we are not fix and flippers. We are pricing for stuff today. What I don't want you to do is I want you to avoid the buyer's goggle syndrome. And what that means is, you're looking through a pair of goggles, kind of like Mr. Magoo, and you're looking at prices compared to yesterday and the month before and the year before. And the reality is, they seem like a good buy today because there's so much discounted. Some are off 20, 25%, but you're being fooled. It's like looking at a stock that's valued at $1,000 at the peak of its market, and then you buy it at $700, $800, you think that's good, and all of a sudden it drops all the way down to like $50. Don't be that guy or gal. Look at the value today and move the property and price it accordingly today. Be very careful when you comp these properties and you don't get the goggle pricing syndrome, meaning you're looking at yesterday's prices and you go, man, that's a great deal. No. How do you know it's a great deal? Make sure you are spending time talking to your cash buyers and make sure you're buying at the right price. And guys, on the how-to, when it comes to negotiations, you know where I'm going for this. You have to use the go for no method. Why? Because you have to get the best bottom line price as possible. If you guys don't know how to do it, go over to freewholesaling.com. We teach you how to do it. You have to get ridiculously low prices to leave room in it for your cash buyers in this type of market. This is not a time to be greedy. It's so important you use the go for no method. So use the go for no method and make sure you have these difficult conversations up front so you're not stuck at the end with difficult conversation with your cash buyers because you bought it wrong. So remember, also, I want you to take today's market conditions. So if you look at today's market conditions, high interest rates for mortgages keep going up, very few buyers in the market, very hard to qualify for a mortgage, and prices are what? They're dropping, it seems, on a weekly basis. Now, I can use that information, that negative information, as leverage against my sellers. So if they need to mull over an offer, it's more important now that you let them know, like, listen, if you need to think about it, I'm fine with it, but give them a deadline and let them understand if you come back that you're going to have a different offer because the market is changing rapidly. What I want to do is press them to make a decision. This is called a call to action. You have to have a call to action in all your negotiations. This works really well in person. You can also do it virtually, but use the market conditions to leverage your sellers to take action, because in a downward spiraling market that sellers usually engage, it's just easier for them to rip off the Band-Aid and make a decision now. But remember, also make sure you have your follow-up going, because follow-up is going to be the key in 2023. But every follow-up conversation is going to emphasize market conditions dropping so you can get your sellers to take action. So let's talk about the last piece of the chaos in 2023 and talk about gurus. So you know how I feel about gurus. I define a guru as someone who just quickly puts a course together because they had some mild success and they're solely trying to benefit themselves by collecting the coaching fees. Honestly, you just create a high-paying job. That's what most wholesaling coaches are. because there's companies out there that teach them how to do it. Now, I'm not opposed to people giving instruction, but I want someone to walk a mile in someone's shoes before they give out instructions, and I would like them at least have an active company, because if they really have an active company and this is what they're doing, they should have a wholesaling company. Why would they quit it to be a guru? So that's key number one. You can read into that however you want. So number two, make sure you listen to any guru's offers. If it sounds too perfect, it usually is. You know why? Because they're reaching. The reality is they write the marketing solely focused on their ability to convert to get you to a sale. And then what happens from there, they're more impressed with their sales technique on closing you with a discovery call or whatever. And then there's less emphasis on the coaching on the back end. How do I know this? It's not everyone, but a big majority of them. Why? Because you guys give me and Zach feedback every day of all these programs you buy, and everything was focused on the sales pitch. And then when it comes to the quality, you didn't have the ability to ask any questions. You didn't know what you're getting into. And once they have your money, it's pretty much over. So make sure if you're going to enter in any coaching program, you look into and see how many active students they have, how often they're going to train you, how long does the membership last for, and ask hard questions. Ask them for recent deals they've done. Because if this is truly what they do, that should be a piece of cake. And anyone who gives you resistance towards that, you already have the answer. So here's what you need to do. When it comes to gurus, avoid the noise. There is no trick to working around wholesaling. It's a sales trick, and that's how they sell you information. Okay? So understand you have to do the work. You cannot substitute it. And if the marketing piece says you can skip wholesaling, heed the warning. Number two, during 2023, you have to stick to the core fundamentals of wholesaling to truly be successful. By doing all these distractions and these different techniques and things you can partner with homeowners without taking any risk is just going to disappoint you and frustrate you more in the end. And last but not least, find a program that you can be most consistent with, because in the end, it's you that has to be accountable, not your coach, not Rick, not Zach. We want to teach you how to be accountable to yourself so you can tell yourself the truth and truly be successful in wholesaling in 2023. So guys, don't be scared of the chaos for 2023. Chaos is good in wholesaling. You just have to stay disciplined. You have to be consistent and don't get distracted, and understand if you put in the time and you get a ton of leads, every conversation you have with a motivated seller is going to get you that much closer to getting a deal. So let me know in the comments, are you prepared for the chaos in 2023? And are you going to use any of these tips and tricks I've showed you that I use in my business right now for 2023 so you can have ultimate success in wholesaling? So guys, do me a favor. If you like this video, smash that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.